So I'm in Assisi today, and behind me is the massive church of St. Clara, and it was built in the 13th century, and let's go inside.
The Basilica of St. Clare, or Santa Chiara, was dedicated to contain the remains of St. Clare of Assisi, who was a follower of St. Francis of Assisi. And she also founded an order called the Order of Poor Ladies, which is known today as the Order of St. Clare. The church was erected in 1260 to house her remains, and they were under the high altar. However, apparently they didn't really know this because in 1850 they were actually searching for Clare's tomb, and that was when they found it. They opened the coffin and they found that the skeleton was perfectly preserved. Then in 1872 they transferred the bones to the crypt of the basilica, and it was actually built for the remains themselves where they are currently. And then it's interesting to note that Saint Agnes of Assisi is also buried here. And of course, actually it's very common in Assisi that you can't take any pictures inside the church, which I actually didn't know because I didn't check while I was taking this video. And this is the video of the side basilica, and there are actually people who are watching you to make sure that you're not taking any pictures. Don't exactly know the point of it, because in most places you can take pictures freely of the churches, but apparently not in Assisi for some reason.
So this is the main square. I walked from there, where you have the St. Clara church, all the way here, which is a fountain. It's pretty hard to get a picture at. You have to wait sometimes, and there are groups. And this is the old church of Minerva, which was redone for Saint Maria. And so this is actually just on the opposite side of the Minerva church. It's in a very unassuming little alcove. It's quite cool.
So this is the Temple of Minerva, or in its Christian name, Chiesa di Santa Maria sopra Minerva, which means the Temple of Saint Mary above Minerva. So it's attributed to goddess Minerva because they found a female statue that resembled Minerva inside. However, they also later found a dedication stone to Hercules, so it's entirely possible that it was actually a temple to Hercules. It was built originally in the 1st century BC and remained a temple until the end of the pagan era. Probably in the second half of the 6th century, Benedictine monks took over the temple. They divided it into 2 floors, and in the lower floor they created a church called San Donato, and in the upper floor they made it a living area. In 1212, the monks leased it to the commune of Assisi, but they kept the rooms of the upper floor for themselves. And in the lower floors, the magistrates of the commune transferred their offices. And that's also why in the sigillum of Assisi municipality, there's an image of Minerva. Now, in the 13th century, it functioned as the tribunal court, and the little church, actually, of San Donato was used as a jail until the beginning of the 15th century. When it was no longer a jail, it was reopened as the Church of San Donato. In 1536, Pope Paolo III was visiting Assisi, and he saw this temple and decided to have it completely restored, or not really restored, completely changed. And it was dedicated to the Virgin Mary because Minerva was the pagan queen of wisdom, and they said that the Virgin Mary was the queen of true wisdom, which was Christian wisdom, which I could argue about, but I'm not going to. So it had later on a sordid history, but it's what it is now. Inside, it's a Baroque style church, which has undergone many restorations, many changes, and it's quite small actually, but also very interesting and very pretty. It's full of marble, and it's interesting that the wall is actually blue.
This is a fountain on my way to the main church here in Assisi, St. Francis, of course. And on the way, there are lots of shops where you can buy souvenirs and lots of pizzerias, so you won't go hungry, that's for sure. And this is the famous Basilica of St. Francis, Assisi. It's an interesting statue here, I'll show you.
So the building of the church was started in 1228 when Francis was canonized by Pope Gregory IX in Assisi. They finished the lower basilica in 1230 and the upper basilica in 1253. And for a time, they didn't let the public know where exactly in the church St. Francis was buried, which they know very well now because there are lots of people there.
This is the back of the church. Well, that's where the main altar is. And there's a courtyard here. And around the courtyard, you can read about the earthquake in 1997 where part of the church collapsed, and the restoration, and it's a lot of text. So I did read a little bit about it. So in 1997 part of the church collapsed, was due to it being very old, and it was already weak in parts, and the earthquake was just the last straw. And a couple of people even died. It's sad. And so inside the church you can't take any pictures, but everyone's taking pictures, really. That's the truth. Everyone does it pretty much on the sly. It's kind of like, I don't get it. It's a huge tourist destination and you can't take pictures. I mean, most people don't come here to pray. And besides, inside, there's all sorts of technical equipment. And like even in front of the main altar, there's this huge screen. So
Opening from the courtyard, there's a small treasury where you can take pictures actually. This is pretty much the only part of it, and it's full of all sorts of religious artifacts. It's well worth a look, it's not a lot of time, and some of the things in there are quite pretty.
So this is the entrance to the lower chapel. There's also an entrance in from the courtyard, in the previous segment. And of course there's no photo inside. And this one is actually a lot nicer looking than the upper church. The frescoes are in a much better condition, so it's worth a visit. And people who are looking out for you not taking pictures are a lot more vigilant. So, but you can also exit here. If you entered on the top, then you exit on the bottom. Oh, and you can also view St. Francis's tomb there. There are lots of people touching it and praying for it and things like that. Well, I touched it. I did that much. You know me. I don't believe in that stuff.